Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
So we've now seen the season finale of the first season of The Valley. Vanderpump Rules, a spinoff series. Can we call it a spinoff? I think that's fair.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think it's well established.
It's brought back characters like Jax Taylor and Kristen Doute have made their return to our televisions. And I have to say, now that we've seen the entire season, it really surpassed a lot of my expectations.
Yeah, I think it's been a breakout hit for a lot of people.
So we thought it would be fun to review this season. We're going to talk about the winners, the losers, and we're going to give it a grade. Love to hear what you're grading it as well. But before we get into it, I actually want to talk a little bit about our expectations going into this season, because mine were on the floor. I didn't even want to watch it.
Yeah, I think that was the feeling that a lot of people had going into the season. The kind of teaser trailer that they had initially put out really didn't have any context. It was just the characters driving through the valley, living in the valley, whatever you want to say.
It's true.
And
it didn't do it justice at all.
No, it didn't do it any justice. It didn't help give us any kind of clarity on what we were about to get into. And boy, did it deliver. It's impressive.
It does kind of make me think about the role that expectations play in going into these seasons. Like, we talked a little bit about Vanderpump Rules, how we really thought it was going to go one way and we were so excited and it went a complete other way. Like, I wonder if it benefited from us having low expectations, and then like everyone started talking about it. So even if you didn't want to watch it, you kind of are like, oh, I guess I have to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that a lot of people too at the beginning were kind of like reluctantly watching it. They're like, oh, whatever, you know, it's on after Vanderpump Rules, like let's just do it. And then like slowly but surely it did kind of like build up like anticipation, and people started getting like, I was actually enjoying, I was like, oh great, I get to watch The Valley now. By the end.
That's it. And it's not even that it was lighter, because literally like in the first few episodes you get into some like really heavy topics, and then by the end we see we see the implosion of two marriages. It's not like it's light, but it was just more fun to watch. It sounds really bad to say fun to watch. The end got really heavy, I'm not gonna lie, especially like that finale that I definitely want to talk about. Like you're really watching, like you feel like you're actually a fly in the wall in these conversations between couples who just can't stand each other anymore, especially with the kids being involved. Like
it's tricky.
It's hard, it's rough, it definitely pulls on your heartstrings. But yeah, at the beginning, I was very much like, why is Jax coming back to our screens? Kristen, I was like, okay, maybe. But also I was like, who are these random people? Why would I care about them? And then they started putting them on the after show, and we were like, what are you doing? I'm surprised at their ability to make us care about these couples pretty early on.
Yeah, and I do think that like it was still a bit of a weird choice to include them in the after show. I don't know if that was fully necessary. I think that they thought that that was going to do like a lot more than it actually ended up doing. But yeah, it is impressive that they, you know, I think a lot of the times now when new reality TV shows become launched and come out, they kind of already know what the jig is, right? The jig is up. They understand how to do this. They understand, they've all been watching, you know, years and years of reality TV series, so they know what to do and how to behave. It really does feel like there was still a little bit of like the soft, like what is the freshman class or whatever kind of experience with this, where like they just were like thrust into whatever this was going to be.
Yeah, it's true. And then there's like Jax and Kristen who are literally going, they're willing to throw every relationship under the bus to make good television.
That's true. There were a couple senior classmen in the mix to kind of help make sure that it actually did progress. But I think that there were some breakout stars in there as well that were definitely doing some mixing and mingling and stirring of the pot.
Yeah, and it's also interesting too because they're a little bit older when you think about the cast for these types of shows, obviously other than like the Housewives, but when you go into like the spin-off type franchises like the Summer Houses and the Southern Charm, actually Thomas Ravenel probably negates the point I'm trying to make, but like it was still so interesting and fun to watch, and it did give it a different life experience. Like we're seeing people with families and with kids. I do think that the way they marketed it was not at all what it actually was. Like, you know, it was very much about like, oh, they're trading in like bottle service for baby bottles. And you were like, why are you trying to market to me that these 40-year-olds are now finally trying to grow up and live in the valley? And like, why should we care about that? That's not what it was at all. It was really about their relationships and their navigating of life and each other, but like it wasn't like them having to grow up.
Yes, I definitely got the feeling, or had the impression, that it was going to be a lot of like changing diapers and like, you know, that kind of thing, which I don't think it would have been necessarily bad if that's what it ended up being. But you're right. It was a lot more about like the friendship dynamics, which is again kind of what we are missing from the Vanderpump Rules of it all, right? Is that they don't have these relationship dynamics anymore. This is a group of friends, and even though they they're maybe not kind of like the same kind of friends or the same level of closeness that we had at the early years of Vanderpump Rules, it's still like enjoyable to kind of see the dynamics play out and figure out who each other is.
Yeah, and I think it also came in like the time that they picked up cameras just happened to coincide with a really crazy time in two of the couples' lives of like Brittany and Jax, and also Jesse and Michelle. Those are their names, right?
Yeah, Jesse and Michelle, yeah.
Like, and that's a bit of a VPR lightning in a bottle effect. I don't want to compare it because I'm sorry,
sure.
you can't light a candle next to, you can't hold a candle to VPR. That's the saying. But like, it just, had those things not been happening in their lives, like I don't know if it would have been as good as a season, but like the viewers got to come be let in on this like pretty crazy time. Yeah, like the disdain that Michelle has for Jason at this point. Jesse, Jason, I can't do it.
It's okay. You only said Jason once, so you're fine.
It's palpable.
Oh yeah,
he's a scary person. There's characters in here.
There are. And I was even interested to hear that she like only moved out 3 days later, both because it's like, oh wow, you got like so close to the end of filming. Like, did you really decide to just do that after filming because you didn't want to have to like put him through that on camera? Or like how does your decision of, like, she was so clearly done the entire season, like how do you
he gave her the ick so badly.
She was very over this man. Like, she was ready to be like at the Chateau Marmont, was hanging out with somebody else.
That's what's really interesting about this too, is that I feel like for a lot of the other shows, like what we just saw with Vanderpump Rules and like seeing the kind of deterioration of Ariana and Tom's relationship and them being like, okay, we have to put certain things on camera because these people have grown up with us. I was actually pretty shocked at the level that Jesse and Michelle let us in and allowed cameras to film some like pretty brutal conversations. Yeah, they're new to this. Like, you know what I mean? I was kind of shocked that they let everyone in that much.
It's true. And I think that Michelle was maybe like a little bit more guarded, but we still like, we got quite a lot of information for such a like a new cast member into kind of like their life and their personal life and what was actually going on and going down between them. Like, to be so vulnerable on camera about like the reality of your actual marriage, especially if you think about other instances of kind of like the, you know, we came on to Bravo to get divorced. Like, we think of Jules from Roni. Like, there's been like a lot of different people who you know, they kind of come on, they happen to get divorced after their first season, but you haven't seen anything leading up to the, like, you know, reason as to why that might happen you know, on camera that year.
Yeah, exactly. Or even with Kyle and Mo, right? Like, we just watched a whole season of Beverly Hills where Kyle basically just wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if anything, we've been watching their relationship a lot longer. Yeah. Some of the things that they said about each other was like pretty rough though. Like, with specifically when Michelle was like, yeah, it was basically just a one night stand that like never left.
Yeah. Well, even for Jesse, I think in the last episode, he talks about how they hadn't been happy like since like 2020.
Yeah. Someone was like, the only person who wants to go back to April 2020. Like,
it's just like, wow, that's a long time to like, you know, that's what you're missing, is like that's the time that you guys were like at your best. Like, that's significant. That's a significant period of time to be working at it. It makes you feel
bad that like their kids are gonna go back and see this. Like, that's rough. The same for like Brittany and Jax. Like, there's a lot of things that they say about each other.
Yeah, especially in the Jax and Brittany situation, I think, right? Like, I think Jesse kind of comes off as a bit of like a dickhead or whatever, but for the most part, like, I don't think he comes off as badly as Jax, just because Jax is so volatile, and kind of like the way that he's like borderline abusive to Brittany, right? Like this constant harassing of her about like her drinking and what's wrong with her and how she's a bad mother, and like, you know, how could I even think about having a second child with you? Look at how you behave. Like, just like, you know, I don't know, the meanness that comes out of him.
It's so bad. I also think for Jesse and Michelle, like both of them, like neither of them are super likable. Like you feel bad that she's been in this relationship to this man, but like some of the things that she's saying are pretty brutal as well.
Yes.
Granted, we don't know, like we didn't see the relationship before she got to this point where she's very clearly done.
Yes.
With Jax and Brittany, while Brittany's also not perfect, yeah, you just see him completely being so brutal to her. And also it's just so funny because like haven't they been touting for years that like Jax has changed now? Like he is a family man, and like this show has proven that he has not changed one iota.
That, and I'm also like fully convinced that he like came onto the show to get divorced. Like he like this whole kind of like, I don't know, idea that he doesn't like, that he is like still kind of like in love with Brittany and he wants to work at this relationship and he doesn't believe in divorce and he doesn't believe in that because that's not what his family does. I'm like, I don't believe that for a second. Like I 100% think that you were like, oh, I'm gonna get a second shot at fame, I'm opening a bar, it's time for me to be single again. Like that's
I could see that so much. I also saw online someone was like, Jax did what Tom Sandoval tried to do, which was he basically just made this relationship so toxic that Brittany thought it was her idea to leave.
Exactly. She had to break up with him because how could you not?
I mean, good for Brittany for finally doing this.
Yes,
and as she says, waking up to just how brutal he's treated her. I did really like that last moment with her just kind of like not taking any of his shit and being like, the cameras are gonna go down and you're gonna rage text me. You literally decided after years of me asking you to go to therapy, you book therapy the day before cameras come up. These are these are the fourth wall breaks that I enjoy.
Yes,
like
this is how you do it. Take notes, Lala.
Yeah, I like that. I do. There's a part of me that feels like they're gonna get back together, and all of this is gonna be for naught.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. I don't think you could do that after you've left like that. Like I don't think that she would do that. And I definitely don't think that he would do that. He's not interested in that. He wanted out of that relationship.
That's true. I guess it's just like I'm thinking back to what season is it that he cheats on her, the Rotten Hail?
I'm pretty sure it's season 6.
There's that. There's like the girls rally around her for like 3 episodes, and it's just like, yes, rah, sisterhood. We love this. Only for them to get back together again. Although I know this instantly is different, but you know, that's in the back of my mind.
I can understand that, but I think that it's now been long enough that I don't think that that's going to happen.
That's true.
And I know that a lot of people too, like when they first split up, kind of thought that was for cameras. Like I think that the way that Jax behaved in the season was a lot more for cameras than like them actually splitting up.
Oh yeah, for sure. He was definitely trying to paint something. Man, this year with Bravo and all the men just trying to like put up these narratives about their women.
Yeah,
like the drinking thing was like he really pushed it the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, he really did. And like, it's just, you know, she's clearly has a problem. There's clearly something wrong with her,
like
and
she's not happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not like she has a problem with drinking, more she has like a problem like there's something wrong with her body, and like I think it was Jax. Her body was poisoning her because it was like we're allergic to Jax Taylor.
And she just we even had to watch her stand up for him so long.
Even okay, I was just gonna say, like, even I feel like when she went on the Not Skinny But Not Fat podcast like a few months ago, I guess now, it was back in April, I felt like she was still like a little bit kind of like under his spell, a little bit like, you know, protecting him or kind of like defending him or whatever. And I'm like, Brittany, like we have a little bit of more work to do here.
Yeah.
You need to have some more conversations with Stassi. Stassi will help set you straight, I'm sure.
I just hope that they're all nice. Like the girls are all nicer to her than they were to Ariana.
Yeah, like, right? Come on. It feels like they have been.
Yeah, I mean, but they're always like, there's some weird thing, like, spell that Brittany has all over all the women that she is literally like
they
an
seem
angel.
to really like her. Yeah, 100%.
Maybe it's just because she stuck up with, maybe it's just so the juxtaposition against like Jax.
Yeah, maybe.
What I was gonna say is, before we get into kind of like winners and losers of this season, one thing that also kind of stood out to me is I feel like they should have leaned more into Kristen. Like the fact that Kristen was not in the last like 3 episodes at Big Bear.
I know.
She is the part of the reason why this show exists. And like, I'm sorry, maybe this makes me toxic, but there's just something kind of nostalgic about watching Kristen be messy Kristen, but like refined messy Kristen.
Yeah, exactly. New and improved 40-year-old version of Kristen.
And like she's a person that we're more invested in her life, and I feel like I don't understand how Janet, a new person in this cast, was able to exclude her from a cast trip.
Yeah, I know. I guess I do appreciate that they didn't fully utilize her to like the extent that they could have, mainly just because I think it saves some things for season 2.
That's
like
true.
I think it helps kind of like be like, okay, like what does season 2 look like how do we kind of like build on kind of like bringing Kristen back into the group, and like what are those dynamics going to kind of like look like, especially now that kind of like Janet has maybe been given like this like mean girl, I don't know if it's a mean girl edit or if it's just that's like kind of been like the fan reaction of like her not necessarily, it's like, oh, who made you the queen bee kind of thing.
So, okay, maybe that actually can bring us into winners and losers of the Valley season 1. I do actually think, if you go by fan reaction, Janet is probably one of the losers of this. I think there's a lot of talk about how she went into it more as a fan, and like I think people were kind of saying that she wanted to be a little bit like Stassi, and she was trying to like stir the pot. Even like the fact that she says, you know, Kristen's being like crazy Kristen. She didn't know Kristen during those days of crazy Kristen. And we also come to see at the end that she has kind of been behind the scenes stirring the pot, like kind of like putting things in everyone's ear, and then just kind of standing back and being really offended when everyone gets angry.
Yeah, exactly. Especially like at the very beginning, like I couldn't believe that like they were going after Kristen so hard with the whole like dynamic between like her and Michelle, and like what was said, what wasn't said. And I was like, but Janet, like, are we blind? I don't understand.
Well, she's pregnant, so
so she can't do anything wrong. Apparently, she can never be messy. I think it's been interesting to kind of see like fan reaction to Janet. I think the overwhelming response is that like it's a little bit not a flop, but a little bit of like a maybe try too hard.
Yeah. And I think also people are kind of commenting on the lack of accountability, that like, you know, that last scene when Zach's getting upset at her and she's just like, watch your tone, I'm pregnant, like kind of pull like what Lala does, which is like, I understand. Definitely, like, you shouldn't be in stressful situations. We want all the best for you. But you've put yourself in this situation.
And I do think that there's like a little level of kind of like superiority or something that she's kind of like air of superiority, I suppose, that she's kind of giving off.
Well, after she's like, you're trash, like you're a trash human, like you're a loser. Like, I was really sad though, because I really liked her and Jason. Like the first few episodes, I was like, I love this couple. They're so funny. Yeah. She made that really funny thing about Jax when she's like, Jax conflates things that people do. Or like, what was it? Like, just because someone's a lawyer.
Yeah, he thinks that because Jason opens his mail that he's like an amazing adult, basically.
And he thinks it's because he's a lawyer, but really it's just things that adults do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I do really like Jason. Like, it's funny because like I do really feel like Jason's a bit of a breakout star of this season. I think he's enjoyable. I think we're kind of like getting like he's very much playing kind of like the straight man too, in the sense that he's not outrageous. He's not like over the top or anything like that. He's just kind of like the everyman almost of the crew. Yeah.
Similar to I think Danny and Nia.
Yes.
I love them.
I know. I really like them. I really want them to be okay.
I know. Some of the things that Jax is saying is kind of like implying that they might not be. But like, you need at least one couple who you're like, wow, they're so cute. We love them.
100%. I even like that, you know, they like did have some conflict and they still managed to kind of like discuss it and like talk about, you know, okay, maybe we don't have these conversations at the dinner table with everybody present when we're like 3 sheets to the wind and like, a little intoxicated. Like,
no, I really appreciated them. I think they're such a cute couple, and I like what you need to have different types of care. Like, not everyone could be doing the most.
No, exactly. It's a time and a place kind of thing too. And I think it was really nice that Nia like was so open and vulnerable, kind of about like some of the issues that she's been having, like postpartum and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's really great to get to see as well.
Yeah, totally. I would put them on the winner list.
I think so. What about like a Zach? How do you feel about him?
I think he has some really good one-liners. I think his facial expressions are amazing. I like the energy he kind of brought at the end. I don't feel like we saw him that much. Like, he felt very supporting character.
I think that's fair. He was involved in the drama, I would say, like a fair amount, but we don't have like a huge amount of context on like his life and like really like what's going on, what he's up to, what's all that. So I guess there's probably a little bit more opportunity to like learn more about him next year. But yeah, definitely interested, but also like I don't want to like jump on kind of like any bandwagon too quickly with him, because I'm a little bit still on the fence.
Yeah, I know, I get that. I get that as well. There also feels like a little bit of a, are you putting even some, like, are you doing some of this for show, like for how it'll look?
Yeah, exactly. Did you notice in I think they did the flashbacks to like Brittany and Jax's relationship, and Zach is in the background of the wedding. Yeah, it's so crazy. I was like, oh wow, so you guys really are like, this is like a full group of people that like have known each other for a long time.
That's what I do appreciate. Like, they actually are friends. I feel like that's another thing we thought going into it, is that they just like picked out people who happen to live in the valley now. They actually have been in the group.
Real roots. Yes. Yeah, I appreciate that.
What about Jasmine?
I like Jasmine. I think that she was another one that was a little bit of like maybe a slow burn. Like, you didn't get a huge amount of sense of her at the beginning of the season. I think that Big Bear kind of like helped kind of get to know her, which is maybe also why it was good that like Kristen wasn't on that trip. Just because we did kind of like get a chance to see like some of the like people who are maybe more on the outskirts a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, I really enjoy Jasmine. I think that she's great. I think that I can totally understand that she's like dealing with the struggle of kind of like being in between two friends. And I like that she kind of like sticks up for herself, but she's also smart enough to kind of like call people out and not just be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. Like, she definitely feels very level-headed, and she feels like a voice of reason in this group. I have the same feelings too. Hope to see like more of her next season.
Yeah, for sure.
They're also the two that came in without significant others. So I feel like the dynamic is going to be a little bit, or like Jasmine has one, but she's not on the show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who else is there? Did we miss anybody?
Yes. Jax and Brittany. Okay, Jax.
Right. Well.
So my inclination first is to say that he came out as a loser because
how dare he?
Just everything that we've witnessed from him.
Yeah.
But I did actually read something which made a lot of sense. Is like, no, actually, in his mind, he came out a winner. This man is on 3 television shows. He has a show that's centered around him. He was able to make it seem like at least it's not all his fault. Like, I feel like he accomplished what he wanted to go in to accomplish, whether we like it or not.
It's true. He managed to like weasel his way up. His way back onto our TV screens. So that was a success. He's been able to recapture fame. So that was a success. In the midst of that, he was able to get out of his marriage. So I think in his mind, that was a success.
So like, loser in our books, probably winner in his books.
Winner in his books, 100%. Yeah, he knew what he was doing here.
You know what else is so crazy? Is that he is another man who would not leave the house and makes his wife and child go leave the house and go to an Airbnb. What is up with these men and their attachments?
I don't understand. Like, get out of there. You're not supposed to be there.
Like, you're the one who's horrible.
Come on. This is why they had to create the expression women and children first for the, getting people off of boats.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's crazy. And his whole like, I was blindsided like narrative that he's coming out and like going with, we're not buying it. Like,
nah, not for a second.
He truly just felt that like she was just never gonna leave him.
Yeah. Or he truly felt like he was like, well, this is as far as this is the extreme that I have to go to for this to finally
or
dissolve.
Yeah.
if you're part of my camp of thinking, if you're part of my conspiracy theory.
No, it's fair.
Is there anybody else? So Jax, Brittany, Nia.
We didn't actually give Brittany a ranking.
Yeah, how did she do? I think she did pretty well.
I think she comes out as a winner off of that last scene alone.
Yes, I think that's true. Actually, I think especially with like the fan reaction I've seen online, I think that's a fair assessment.
And then Kristen and Luke.
Oh right. Oh whoops. Well, Luke. I mean, there's not a lot there, right? Like,
you know,
we haven't gotten a huge impression of him.
I appreciate the way that he sticks up for her pretty adamantly in public, but also calls her out and tries, even if he's not able to. He, bless his heart, he tries to get her to see what's happening.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a really good point. And I do think it's nice that she's seeing somebody who doesn't really seem to want the spotlight. Like, I think that, like, if you think about, like, Tom Sandoval, like, that was somebody who very much, like, wanted, like, to be a rock star. He wanted, like, the fame and whatever. Like, I don't think Luke is, like, super interested in that. Carter very much seemed like a bit of, like, a hanger-on as well. Like, maybe he wasn't specifically looking for, like, fame, but he was...
Well, she payrolled, she, like, bankrolled his life.
Exactly. He was looking for a sugar mama. And I don't know anything about Alex, obviously, but beyond that, like, based on the two people that I have seen her with, I think that Luke is a much better fit.
Yeah, no, he seems pretty level-headed as well. I do wonder what their future is, because he obviously doesn't want to be in LA, and now they have the show that's in LA, and he's not super integrated into the group.
Maybe they'll get a country house somewhere they can go away to. And then what about Kristen? Yeah. I don't know. I think she came out a winner just because of also, like, the fan reaction again. Like, I think the fact that, like, people are walking away from this season being like, you severely underutilized Kristen, like, you know, how dare Janet kind of, like, ice her out of the group. I think that in a way is a good experience for Kristen. I think that is very much also the opposite of how we often felt about her in Vanderpump Rules, where we were just kind of like, okay, Kristen, you're a lot. Yeah. Like, this is a lot.
I do actually think that Kristen has shown growth. Like, yes, she's still super messy, especially with her whole, like, the hallway scene that I want to talk about actually has some, like, kind of standout moments. When she's like, Michelle's had a boyfriend for a year. Then she's like, I meant to say she had a boyfriend a year ago. Oops. Like, she's she's
my bad.
But, like, I feel like old Kristen would have gone scorched earth over this entire summer.
Yeah. and she definitely came off as somebody, like, hyper fixated on, like, the issue, right? Like, the whole, like, Miami girl thing, and, like, the way that, like, all of season 3 is devoted to, like, going after Ariana and Tom's relationship and, like, Miami girl and bringing it up. And you're just like, okay, Kristen, like, I get it.
It's
you
so
probably
true.
did cheat, but
she probably would have brought this, like, celebrity or whoever this person was she was talking to, like, onto the show.
She was like, okay, and now here's this famous celebrity to come out. So, I think overall that's probably worked out really nicely for Kristen.
Yeah, I do think she came out of this a winner, dare I say it. Yeah. Because I never even thought I would want Kristen back on our television screen. Yeah. Like, I really, again, like, when this came out, it was like, okay, Kristen and Jax are the two people you're centering it around. It was like, why?
What a disaster.
Yeah.
Who asked for this? And now here we are eating our words.
And I think it's I think we know where Michelle and Jesse end up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in some ways this show ended up being kind of, like, centered around them and their relationship. So I think that's true. Maybe they're a winner in the sense that, like, they, you know, are kind of, like, breakout stars in that sense.
But they're kind of like breakout villains. I do want to see what Michelle is like outside of this relationship, because it's like, is she
That's
different?
True. That's true. I think she's set up nicely as well now for the next season for us to get to know her more, get to see who she is without this relationship and without kind of like being tied into something that she doesn't want to be in. And that'll be interesting to get to watch.
The conversation with them at the end, though, like after they've gotten separated and they're talking about the divorce proceedings, and they're both just like, oh man, that was so hard to watch. They're both just like, so not even brutal, but just so, it's bad when it's just pure matter of fact. Like they're not even talking with emotion anymore. It's like an angry transaction.
Yeah, and it's so weird to kind of like think about the logistics that they have to go through to just like
separate the business too.
Separate the business, like share the custody of their child, share custody of their dog, like, even the fact that like Jesse was like, well, do you have the dog's food? Like it's AM food and it's PM food.
Yeah.
Like
it was pretty brutal to watch their kid come in and be like, "Mommy," and then they're just like, "Hi, honey."
That conversation,
like, these are the parts that you're like, "Oh man, like this is real life. Like this is hard."
Yeah, that's just it. That was actually really interesting. I'm kind of glad that they showed us that. Like, I know that it's quite invasive, but it's pretty crazy to get to see. Like, wow.
Yeah, I really wonder what next season looks like.
Yeah,
for them. And like this was their first season. Like who wants to showcase that on your first season?
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if they'll add any like additional cast members after this, or if they're gonna kind of be like, okay, we've got like 2 couples that are together, 2 divorced couples, and 2 other.
I don't think that they're gonna mess with it. I think that they're like, wow, this really did super well. Worked. And maybe it was also contrasting such a bad season for VPR.
Yeah.
I find it funny too, though, that like people are like, oh no, is Sheena and Lala going to go over to the Valley? And literally everyone in the Valley is like, no.
They're not going to happen. No, thank you.
Like, we just bought houses in the Valley. What else do we have to do?
What's up? Oh my God.
Like, the only one who really appeared on it was Schwartz. Lala was there for like a second.
That's true. Yeah, that was actually kind of fun to get to see that too. Crossover. Love it.
It was. What about standout moments that made it a good season?
I mean, I definitely loved the Big Bear trip. I thought that was good. I thought that was really like, it's always interesting to kind of see groups come out of their like daily dynamic and kind of like how they operate when they're put in like that like setting of like, okay, you're all just stuck in a house together.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. So I think that was really fun. I'm glad we got to see that. It's even a little bit more of like what I wanted the Tahoe trip from Vanderpump Rules this season to be. So I think that was good.
Yeah. And like I like that they had like the girls' time, the boys' time, and then like there's a bunch of scenes where you just see how bad the relationships are and like the state that they're in. I also love that all the girls like rally around Brittany when Jax tries to call her out.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. What about you? Did you have any kind of like standout moments from the season?
I mean, the hallway scene was insane.
Yes, yeah. That was crazy. That was so good.
How would you even explain the hallway scene to people who haven't seen it?
That's a good question. Okay, they are at dinner at the Mondrian after Jax's hair care event.
Because apparently he's balding. Okay, I'm sorry. One thing. Jax 100% would pretend and say that he is balding just to have a business opportunity, which is so funny because like even the editing, they're like his bald spot and there's like I think it's just his hairline, like where it moves.
Well, yeah, and like it could be thinning, like he might be right about that, like, but who knows?
I don't know. I just thought it was really funny and just kind of showcases this man's ability and desire to capitalize on any press is good press.
It's very much giving Lisa Rinna in the Depends commercial.
Is that the?
It's the undies. The what is it? A diaper. The diaper undies. Funny. Yeah,
that's good. That's really good.
It's great. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're at the event.
So they're at the dinner. I don't even remember what like kicked off the fight. Like they were just having this like whole back and forth about like the what Michelle had said, and then the way that had like sparked this like hatred between Kristen and Jesse and Michelle, and then it was the boyfriend allegations, right?
But yeah, I think it was that Jesse and Michelle were yelling at Kristen and Luke, being like, you are messing with my family. Oh yeah, they're like, you're messing with my family. And then Kristen's like, I'd rather be on Vanderpump Rules if it's just gonna go down again like this. And then like Jesse goes into a rage and like pushes Brittany, and like it's just pure chaos.
And like Zach gets caught up at one point.
Yeah, Zach and his and like Michelle has a nip slip.
Oh yeah. Like, the entire time.
It's just like a massive, it's just like pure chaos.
Yeah.
And then Kristen storms off and says the whole, she had a boyfriend for a year. Now I said it.
Yes. Yeah. And now we said it.
So that was pretty wild.
That was very good. There was also the James May relaunch event that Kristen hosted. Actually, that's so funny. Sorry, beyond that, which they also had a tattoo like person at. Did you like? So
that's like a thing now. Like having tattoo artists at events.
They had that at 2 of the events, because they also had that at the barbecue at the beginning of the season.
Where Jax pants Danny.
Yeah. And then Nia was like, we have to go. It's giving like Serena Van Der Woodsen, I have to go.
I have to
go. Yeah, so weird little thing about tattoo people at parties now, but I guess that being a thing. But yeah, so the James May relaunch event where the whole uninviting thing happened, and like the drama of that.
Actually that was really good too. The uninviting
and like the breakdown and the tears and the guy in the pink Crocs that were also boots.
Yeah, so for those who haven't watched, Kristen was having a relaunch of James May, her clothing company that she started when she was on VPR.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also the time that Jax was going to deliver the news to her and Zach that they are not invited to Janet's
Big Bear.
Big Bear
baby
for
moon.
The baby moon, and it's very dramatic and there are tears and but honestly overall, like, it's not even the standout crazy moments. It was just like I feel like what made this a good season is that there didn't seem to be any filler. Like every episode was pretty good.
Yeah, every episode was moving like something a little bit forward, which was nice. And I feel like even at the cast of characters, there wasn't like one person that was like, what are you doing here? Like everybody was kind of like doing their own little thing, which I appreciate.
Yeah, no, I actually did. I did enjoy it again. Like I didn't expect to. I think it's also, I don't know. I keep just going back to this expectations thing, but I don't know. I don't think it's just the expectations. I think this was just like a good first season. Like it's pretty hard to get a good first season of anything when you're introducing something completely new.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And that's just it. Like so many seasons, like the first season is really just when you kind of like are like establishing the characters. Like you don't even necessarily get any drama in the first season that much. Like maybe you'll get like little bits and pieces here and there if you've cast the group properly. But to actually kind of like have like such a good first season is incredible.
I mean, they did probably benefit from not to get all like MCU on this, but like they're in the Vanderpump Rules universe.
Yes.
Like we know Jax and we know Kristen, so there is a nostalgia factor, and we don't have to like introduce them. And like we do want to be like, well, where are you guys in your life? Like what have you been doing for the past few years? But that alone can't carry a season, and they were able to incorporate the rest of the cast and like the drama and stuff.
Well, and I wonder what the overlap was like between like the production as well, right? Because like the people that produce Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and the people that produce are the same people that produce Vanderpump Rules. I wonder if it's also now the same people that are producing The Valley. Because if you also have like a pretty well established like production crew behind you that kind of like knows how to operate and like what to do, like sometimes when you get a completely new city or a completely new franchise, like you probably have a completely new production crew that might be like, you know, starting from the ground up. And
that's a really good point.
I wonder what that impact is.
What would you give as a grade to season 1 of The Valley? I'm going to preface, let's say Vanderpump Rules seasons like 1 through let's say 4 are like, to me, like A+. Like this is
top tier.
Is like top tier. Or I don't know what else goes in there. Like a couple of the earlier episodes, seasons of Southern Charm for me.
Oh yeah, season 1 of Southern Charm, like just from the finale alone, gets an A+.
The finale, the beginning less so, but yeah, like seasons 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
season 3 of Summer House when Paige and Hannah come in. To me are like pretty top tier. That's where I'm putting them up again.
Yeah, it is. There's some competition up there for sure.
So yeah, where would you rank them? I actually hate giving grades to things. I'm so bad at it. It's a weird thing to be bad at, but like
it's like do you find yourself doing that often in your day-to-day life?
Kind of.
Well, I would definitely give this a solid B. I think 100% it's worthy of that. I think maybe I would like refrain from giving it an A just because like I want to be like a little bit picky and I want to be able to like reserve A and A plus for like future series of things. But I think it was 100% a solid B. Amazing. No notes.
No notes.
No notes.
I agree. I would maybe even put it at a B plus.
Ooh, okay. Yeah,
if you're going like B plus, A minus, A.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, A plus. Oh,
A plus. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's nice of you to give them that.
Do we think?
That so extra little plus.
We're between a B and a B plus.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, like 85 to 70, 85, 80, 87%.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Yeah, sleeper hit. Let us know what you thought of The Valley. Also, what are you watching now? Because there's a big hole. That like we do at least have Summer House, the reunion. And then new shows that are coming out. I'm so excited. I haven't seen it yet. But
I watched it.
Really
it's
excited.
Crazy. Get excited.
We totally. Let us know what you want us to recap next. We do have an episode coming out where we actually fact check Lindsay on the Vile Files. Now that we've seen the entire season, we just kind of wanted to go back and take a little bit of a look at what she and Carl were seeing earlier versus what we saw play out. And then hopefully we'll cover the reunion because there's just so much to get into.
We're gonna need to.